and get people and get the right personnel there dispatching. But you also have to counsel them through that, and stay on the phone with people and be there, be a listening ear, and those types of things through it. So you've got to be a crisis manager at the same time. You got to be a little bit of a counselor, all packaged into one. And so it is an incredible job that these folks do day in and day out, week in and week out. Um, Not too many people know, but we receive about 40,000 calls a year into the department for calls for service. In addition to that, our department will dispatch internally about another 20,000, so 60-ish, and some change that our officers are going out on. But calls into our office about 40,000 a year, and these are the folks that take those calls. So it is a pleasure and honor to do this yet again this year. Whereas over 1,200 telecommunicators, caters, and dispatchers daily serve the residents of Harris, Fort Bend, and Brazoria County by answering their calls for police, fire, and emergency medical services, and by dispatching the appropriate assistance as quickly as possible. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the vital link between citizens and the emergency services they are in need of, whether it be police, fire, or emergency medical assistance. And whereas telecommunicators are professionals whose multitasking behind the scenes and often unrecognized actions are responsible for helping protect people and property. And whereas professional telecommunicators work to improve the technology and operational capabilities through their leadership and participation in training programs to improve their skills and prepare for 911 calls from different devices. And whereas the Greater Harris County 911 Emergency Network wishes to join with the state of Texas and the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America and other 911 entities across the country in setting aside the second week in April to recognize telecommunicators for their crucial role they play in protection of life and property. Now, therefore, I, Kevin Cole, by the power vested in me as the mayor of the city of Pearland, Texas, do hereby proclaim April 2nd, 12th through the 18th, 2026, as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Pearland. And I ask all of our citizens, both near and far, in joining us as we recognize the important work these folks do as the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. Again, given under my hand and seal today, the 13th day of April. It's a privilege and an honor to do this. Who's accepting? Miss Galvan, I believe. Come on down. And do you want to say a few words? Or?
Sure. I'm going to say, like Chief Spires always says, you took a page out of my book
There you
already.
go.
So
I try.
I will tell you that the citizens of Pearland are truly blessed to have this amazing group of people. This group of people not only meets the standards, we are constantly striving to exceed the standards. And that's what we do here in Pearland, always pushing the envelope to meet, to exceed the standards. So this team, just last month, we answered almost 12,000 administrative and 911 calls in 1 month. Our service level was at 99.7, and our QA scores are at 97%, which exceeds the national.
What's the average?
3 seconds. On the first ring, we're answering that line. So when I say that we're doing an amazing job, these operators here are doing an amazing job. So thank you.
Here you go. Thank you, folks. Thank you for what you do. Yep. Thank you. All right. Where did Clint go? Clint, come on down. You get to present this one. Yeah. So, I'm not sure if there's anyone here from our. In fact, Chief, you want to hang for just a second? I don't know if we have anybody from our crime victims. Oh, here we go. Okay. Wanted to make sure. Okay. We have one more here to present. I've asked our Mayor Pro Tem to help me do that.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor. Um, Proclamation from the Office of the Mayor, City of Pearland. Whereas child abuse prevention is a community responsibility, and finding solutions depends on involvement among all people in communities to promote and implement programs that benefit children and their families. And whereas there were 534 confirmed cases of child abuse, 0 confirmed deaths related to child abuse or neglect in Brazoria County 2025. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships among agencies, schools, religious organizations, nonprofit organizations, law enforcement agencies, the district attorney's office, the Department of Family and Protective Services, and the business community. And whereas every community should become more aware of child abuse prevention and consider helping parents raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment. Therefore, Kevin Cole, by the power vested in him as the mayor of the city of Pearland, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2026 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. In Pearland, I ask all citizens, both near and far, to join me in urging all citizens to work with child abuse prevention agencies to significantly reduce child abuse and neglect within our communities, given under his hand and seal of office this 13th day of April 2026. And for those of you that don't know, April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, something that's near and dear to my family's heart. And so I appreciate you letting me be a part of this. And that 534 confirmed cases, that's a lot. We're grateful that there's 0 deaths, but we want that 534 to be 0. And that's something that we can affect as a community by speaking up, by providing services, by connecting families with agencies in our community that help prevent child abuse and neglect. And here in Brazoria County, we want to put every effort we can, and here in the city of Pearland, we want to put every effort we can to stopping the scourge of child abuse in our community. So I'm very thankful to be a part of this. And would you guys like to say anything either?
That's handed to me. Yeah, she was terrified as soon as you called us up here. So, no, and just to touch on what you said, Councilmember. So last week we just celebrated with our annual pinwheel ceremony where we placed pinwheels out in front of the police department to signify all these abuse cases. So it's something that we work with council, with the mayor, with our community partners to bring awareness to this time of month. So please, feel free to go check it out. It's pretty impressive to see. It will open your eyes to what's really going on within our county. So this is important. Thank you very much.
All right, Mayor, you can start in 3, 2, 1.
All right, we'll call the City Council regular meeting agenda for Monday, April the 13th, 2026 to order at 6:33 p.m. If you will all join us by standing, we're going to be led in an invocation by Councilmember Carbone, followed by Councilmember Fernandez on our pledges.
Thank you, Mayor. If y'all would bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for another beautiful day in this city. Thank you for all the individuals and families represented here tonight. Be with those that are protecting our freedoms overseas and here in the States. Be with all of our first responders. Keep them protected and get them home safely to their families. Please be with us. Help us to make decisions that are honoring and pleasing to you, and get us all home safely tonight. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Y'all will join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Moving forward in our agenda, roll call and certification of quorum. Madam Secretary, I'll certify we have a quorum present, as all members are present with the exception of Councilmember Patel, who is out due to a death in the family. So condolences with the Patel family. Moving forward, citizens' comments. We do have several that signed up to speak. I believe one in general comments. We'll call on that person now, the other specific to an item, and we will call those names up as we get to each individual item. Mayor Pro Tem, if you'll proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Quentin Wiltz, you'll make your way to the podium. State your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you for being here.
Quentin Wiltz, 1325 Echo Harbor. Thank you all for this opportunity. I'm here on behalf of residents in the city of Pearland. As some may or may not know, I'm actually seeking an opportunity to represent the city, and many of you up there have the distinct honor and privilege of doing so. And in this course, there have been several people across the city that have reached out for help. There are residents who are currently suffering with water problems, brown water, smells, quality, and I do not have the power to help them other than by advocacy, and that is why I'm here. They've reached out, and I've directed them. Some of you may have gotten emails or phone calls, but I don't have the power to help them other than to advocate and speak on their behalf. As you know, many of them are commuters. They can't be here. They have childcare or other family things to take care of. And so on their behalf, I'm here asking you, council, mayor, who have the power to help them, please, I know there are city staff have taken certain steps to do some things, but I don't believe it's enough. So I would offer some suggestions, maybe to help them. One, people can't bathe their kids or take baths or showers, and maybe the city can offer vouchers or partner with local businesses like H-E-B or Kroger to offer them clean water or drinking water. Perhaps the city can open up different places where citizens can bring samples for free testing so that they can rest assured that the water that they are either consuming or putting on their bodies is safe, and that they have reassurance. So here, I'm here as a resident, I'm here as an advocate, I'm here as a citizen, just trying to use the power that I have as a resident to advocate for people who cannot be here, for people who are just looking to be provided the basic services as a resident of this great city of Pearland. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, and that's all we have for public.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Wiltz. David, if you've got 2 seconds, could you step out with Mr. Wiltz real quick? Maybe walk him, I see Zach here as well, with some of what we've been doing recently with some of the conversion, but also maybe specifically if there's areas of town, because every area of town is different, And so if we're going to diagnose something, we need some of that. So if y'all step out and get that, that'd be good. All right. Thank you for that. All right, moving on. The other ones we will call as we get to those specific items. With that, consent agenda, I believe we're pulling D. Is that correct? So Mr. Koza, if you would present consent agenda items A through E with the exception of D.
Yes, Mayor. Consideration possible action on consent agenda items A through E with the exception of D. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Chavarria?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Cade?
She stepped out.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
All right, Mr. Koza, if you present D, and then
Yes, Mayor. Consideration possible action resolution number R 2026-66. So moved.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Staff report?
That was item D?
D, yeah,
Okay, all right.
blowers.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, so this resolution amends a previous action by changing the vendor name as the first thing it does. In that original quote where that was approved, that resolution had, or the quote that was used to develop that resolution had both ETT, the rep for the product, and Kaiser, the manufacturer, on the quote, and the reso and contract were for Kaiser. When it was invoiced from ETT, and after confirming that was correct, we need to change that vendor. It was intended to be ETT from the beginning. So that's the first part. And then since those temporary blowers were installed and has got the plant operating back closer to where it should be and normal, the team's been going through an evaluation process to determine what blowers to move forward with permanently. And that evaluation really is concluded at the end of last week. So we know what we're moving forward with now. So those new blowers will be ordered and installed through the recently awarded maintenance contract. And so in the meantime, those take about a 5-month build. So we need this extension of the temporary blowers to get to that point. So we recommend approval. Thank you.
Mr. Koza, I think you pulled this.
I did, Mayor. David, I just want, and here again, I appreciate your sincerity and honesty with the last time we had a talk about maintenance in regards to this. Is this kind of our continuing problem at Reflection Bay where we had lack of maintenance?
It is, sir. We're finally at a point where we have kind of drawn a line and ready to move forward with a permanent solution. And unfortunately, all of the blowers there, we've got in a replacement program, and it's within the maintenance contract that we have. We're going to do 2 a year and just replace them, and over the next 3 years, have all 7 blowers replaced.
Okay.
And the plant back to full capacity.
Okay, that was going to be my next, where we stand, what other things might pop up down the road. So if you're telling me this is kind of the end of the road, I know either last meeting before, we approved contract to be able to get you down the road with taking care of stuff. So I know we're addressing that, and I know we're going to get back on track and take care of this stuff. But I just wanted the reassurance from you that we are, this is the last chapter, hopefully.
The last one that we are aware of. And we greatly appreciate the approval, and it's just good that we're of the same mind. I know Carlos truly appreciates the funds. I don't know if you've met Carlos Lopez. He's the asset reliability coordinator. He really appreciates the ability to do his job and have funding to do it. So thank you.
And I appreciate that he's going to take care of it. So thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. That's all I had.
All right, good deal. Any other questions, follow-up comments? With that, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Chavarria?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Cade?
Aye.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0.
All right, good deal. Moving forward, public hearing number 1. Katya, if you will read into the record the reason for the public hearing and move into your staff report. We also have 2, I believe it's the applicants that are here that signed up to speak, so we'll hear from them here in just a second.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. This is a request by Thomas Forshner, applicant on behalf of Pearland Storage LLC and Al D. Coker, owners, for approval of a zone change for 13.147 acres of land from General Commercial District to Planned Development, generally located south of Knapp Road, east of Main Street here in Pearland. The applicant's intent is to rezone the property to allow the light industrial development of the site. As of today, we've received 0 written comments and phone calls. Note, a legal ad was posted in the Pearland News Reporter. We sent 15 letters out to property owners within 200 feet, and a notification sign was placed on the property by the applicant. Shown on the screen is an aerial and zoning map of the property. There are a bunch of surrounding uses varying from commercial intensities, as well as Hickory Slough, a cemetery, and some office warehouses. The future land use map has this area identified as manufacturing and warehouse. And this case may have started to sound familiar to some of you, and that is because in January, this case was unanimously denied with a straight zoning change from general commercial to M1, with direction to come back for a PD or to consider a conditional use permit. A PD workshop was held on February 9th of this year, and this case was heard at the March 30th meeting, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval. Shown on the screen on the left side is the design plan that the applicants have provided in their packet. You can see 2 access points on Knapp and Main, as well as the 173,000 square foot industrial building with surface parking, internal drive, and internal circulation, as well as surface parking. And within the plan development, the applicant has identified some internal signage and external signage that will be placed, identifying where trucks can and cannot turn. Shown on this slide is a rendering of the proposed building. And wanting to share a little bit about the plan development, happy to go over some of the stipulations or have that time to ask the applicant, as Mayor Cole said they are here tonight. But overall, this PD has a list of 59 uses that are currently permitted by right or by CUP in the M1 district that are identified as prohibited in this PD. Additionally, they have 9 added uses and modified to indoor only with this PD. This PD identifies increased setbacks, landscaping, screening requirements, building articulation, and lighting requirements. And screening for outdoor loading docks is a requirement. And overall, if this property was developed as general commercial, there is a chance that there would be more traffic if this property wasn't developed as the proposed PD. Looking at the criteria for approval of a zoning change, this plan development meets the 4 identified criteria. And expanding on the first criteria, it continues to meet the comprehensive land use plan, thoroughfare plan, unified development code, and utilities. And therefore, staff finds that the requested PD meets the 4 established criteria for approval of a zoning change. During the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, there were identified areas where the PD needed some grammatical improvements and text changes, and those were changed before the first reading of tonight's council. And therefore, staff recommends approval of the proposed plan development. As previously stated, the P&Z looked at this proposed zoning on the 30th of March and overall shared positive comments and therefore voted 6-0 to recommend approval. That concludes staff report. I'll pass it back to you, Mayor.
All right,
Thank you
for that. See, the applicant's present. Do you have a presentation or just here to answer questions? Okay. Awesome. We looked at so many.
My name's Eric Oliver with Junction Commercial Real Estate of Houston, Texas, and I brought along Joe Flint.
Joe Flint, Langen Engineering, civil engineer.
Appreciate the council and the mayor's opportunity to come back. As P&Z said, this should look familiar. I think this is the third or fourth time I've stood up here now. And so it should be pretty familiar to you, but wanted to clarify a few things I know were of concern, and I think we've done a pretty good job of addressing. So I'll skip through, just put Junction's experience in here again, but as I've said, we're a very active industrial developer in the city, and we're in the greater Houston area with plus or minus 3 million square feet under production right now. And then just a refresher on the project here, we're looking at providing a very modern and clean looking 173,000 square foot industrial distribution building as a speculative development that will be utilized primarily for indoor storage activities. I just wanted to kind of touch before we get into, I know the traffic portion, but staff did a great job of kind of heading me off here on this one, but just wanted to stress, what we've done here in the PD in an attempt to make an industrial distribution fit the corridor overlay district, make it a building that's pleasing for everyone to look at, and that generates, revenue for the city and benefit for the citizens around it. We've really taken a lot of those uses out of the light industrial that we know drove concern about a straight zone change to light industrial, and pulled those out of this PD, and really just focused on the uses that we see this fulfilling as a speculative developer. So a lot of those outdoor, borderline light industrial to heavy industrial uses that I think were of concern have been pulled out of this PD. From a traffic perspective, what I wanted to highlight here, if you look at the chart I have on the screen, is the current permitted use right now as it sits as a general commercial building. Without having to go through any type of PD or CUP or anything of that nature, we could currently provide a use on this site that would generate somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,200 or 3,166 trips a day, split between trucks and residential light vehicle traffic. And then that split, this is a projected split of what we would see that, just based off of typical use for, if you think retail or warehouse type retail buildings, strip malls, things of that nature would generate these traffic counts in the neighborhood of 3,200 vehicles a day. Dropping down to the light industrial traffic, Joe's here to answer any specific questions on that, but looking at our TIA on the project or our traffic impact analysis and what is going to be running in and out on a typical light industrial building of this nature based off the square footage, we're looking at generating a total of 37 trucks a day and 49 cars or residential vehicles. And again, that is a formula that our engineer has produced based off standard TIA applications and evaluation processes. And then on the bottom here is what I have projected for what we typically see historically in these buildings here that we develop. Just a reminder that, on a typical tenant of ours in a front load building like this is going to run operations from 7, 8 in the morning until 5, 6 in the afternoon, standard business hours. This isn't a 24-hour operation like you kind of think about Amazon's or larger buildings like that. This is a during the working day type business. And we typically see something of this size generating about 19 trucks total a day and 35 vehicles a day for traffic, and that would be the workers and people coming to and from the building. In this scenario, the product will typically come in, stay within the building, and then be distributed out. And I know we've discussed a lot in depth and detail. We anticipate the majority of our traffic coming north from the Beltway, and then, coming from the north-south from the Beltway, and then exiting the site and proceeding north straight back up to the Beltway. So some of the things that we've added in here, just for knowledge, I know we've received some questions about queuing either on Main Street or queuing on Knapp Road. I put some dimensions in here. We have roughly 630 feet of drive from Knapp Road, where we see the the primary traffic coming in from a truck perspective. And so that, will eliminate any need for queuing on Knapp Road. Those trucks will be able to approach the site and enter directly onto the site and then proceed to the truck court. And then from Main Street, we're coming in and entering directly into the truck court from Main Street, so no queuing there as well. We will also provide some signs. I think there's been some examples of them, but no queuing signs, just to prevent that. And then monument signs at both Main Street and Knapp Road to identify the turn-ins for the trucks, so that really it will really limit or eliminate the possibility of the trucks passing the site and ending up in the residential neighborhood beyond Knapp Road, or beyond the entrance along Knapp Road. And then, of course, as we leave the site, we've got also signage that will be put down and striping on the pavement itself, and signage, no trucks right turn, no trucks beyond this point, et cetera, to limit that, temptation or confusion to turn right out of the site on Knapp Road and head into the residential neighborhood. And just to reiterate again, we see the trucks coming in along Knapp Road, distributing the product within the building, and then exiting directly back onto Main Street and proceeding north to the Beltway. In some subsequent slides, I can show what we anticipate the alternate route is. If a truck is coming south and they miss Knapp Road, how are they going to turn around and get back to the site? And then I think it's worth mentioning that we have received TxDOT approval for the drives that you see on the screen here. That's kind of happened between when we went through P&Z and when we've got here, just our continued work on the project. But the site plan that you see in front of you, TxDOT has approved this drive for this. We looked at several options with both the HVAC company south of us and with Mr. Coker, who sends his apologies. He could not be here tonight. But looking at evaluating where we were going to put this drive on the Main Street and whether or not we needed the Knapp Road site, after talking with Mr. Coker and what was best for his business, that's what kind of led us to get the Knapp Road access behind him and purchase that from him to come out to Knapp Road, rather than try to share a drive access with his employee parking in his business as well. Looking at the next slide, I just put this up just to kind of highlight what we really think is the alternate route if a truck misses coming south. If they leave the Beltway, they're proceeding south, they miss Knapp Road. In this scenario, that is the purple arrow and diagram. They would proceed down to 518 or Main Street, and then loop back around that way from coming from the west back east. And then, of course, we have traffic coming from the south is the yellow, and traffic coming from the north is the blue. And then the red is the prohibited route for trucks on into the neighborhood to the east, which, again, we will control that with one, a tenant understanding of the truck traffic routes and the inability for trucks to proceed east, and then signage for those truck drivers that come in that aren't necessarily owned or associated by the tenants that'll be in this building. The other thing I wanted to highlight was just that I know we've brought up a few times the detention, and just a reiteration that really what we're doing here is kind of a regional or area detention project. We've and I'm sure the city's well aware of Mr. Coker's issues with Brazoria Drainage District number 4, and then the associated drainage issues kind of in that area. And we really feel that our project solves that for everyone and is a win-win for everyone in that area. We're going to provide detention for Mr. Coker and ample detention to kind of alleviate some of the drainage concerns in that area. And again, discharge directly into Hickory Slough. I got it right that time, Hickory Slough, and then that will continue on down to Clear Creek from there. I believe that's the last slide. I can remain up for questions or come back.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do the open for the public, and then we'll come back for questions. So I'm sure we'll have a handful for you here in just a minute. We'll open this public hearing up for those in the audience who would like to offer testimony for or against this proposed request. Thank you, sir, for coming out. When you go to the podium, just give us your name there, and you've got 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Sorry about that. My name is William Wiespappy, and I'm a resident of the neighborhood behind this development. I'd like to take a moment to thank the Planning Commission, the council, and the developers for all their hard work in trying to make this fit the area. In my opinion, it does. I'm in favor. There are concerns that I think have been met. You know, the intersection of Knapp Road and Old Alvin is not suitable for truck traffic. An 18-wheeler can't make that turn. So I think that's been addressed. It would be nice if we could get a little bit of help with the left turn on 35 headed southbound. If that left turn could be made permissive, that would help prevent queuing on 35. I don't know if it's possible with being a state highway and whatnot, and 3 lanes, but overall, good to go, in my opinion.
Thank you for that. Second call for those wishing to speak for or against this proposed request. Third and final time, those wishing to speak for or against this proposed request. Seeing no one moving in that direction, we'll open up for questions, comments, concerns from City Council. Mr. Koza?
I can kick it off. Thank you. I'll give him a couple seconds to get to the podium. That'll work. Instead of having a delay there. Eric, thank you for being here again. I'll start off, unlike last time where I let you know I'm not a pessimist for this. I want it to work. I see the different slides that you have submitted here as far as how the traffic is to move around. But we have signs all over this great state that tell us what speed limit we're to drive, and people do what they wish. So my concern here again, and it's with the routes and whatnot. I know you've submitted one in here that's not approved as far as what we talked about last time, going south to McCard, coming back around Old Alvin, and then back up to Knapp to get into your facility if this is approved. So with that being said, I assume that when you have this one route like I just discussed, you're saying that's not going to happen because of signs. Is that a safe assumption?
I think there's 2 parts to it. So really, signage leading up to the site will be kind of what prevents these drivers from missing the site, right? And addressing, I think we need to work very closely with the city when we address this as a physical address of where that's off of to help those truck drivers find it. And then 2, it's really conversations and covenants within our leases with tenants that understand the importance, and because a lot of these tenants will own, or not own, but employ these drivers, right? This isn't a distribution facility where lots of different companies are sending trucks to it. So it's discussions with the tenants, it's understandings with the tenants of what's permitted in our PD, and then it's signage to prevent the misses and addressing. Obviously, to your point, if a truck driver misses it or turns on the Knapp and gets upset that he's missed it or turns too late, we can't physically be standing out there and stop him, right? But we really feel like with signage leading up to it, monument signs to mark it, we can prevent the non-permitted routes from happening in the first place.
Yeah, the intent's there, which I appreciate that. So are you telling me that this facility won't have much truck traffic outside of tenants driving, not people delivering? Because that was one of my concerns. I deal with truck drivers on a regular basis, and they pretty much have a mind of their own. And I can tell you that you can make appointments, you can do this, you can do that, and they are all over the map. Because one of my concerns, why I asked that question, is let's say somebody's delivering something, they're coming from Friendswood, moving down 518, and their whatever map system they use routes them up Old Alvin. Right. They don't push it all the way to Main Street because it's quick, boom, here we are, and we're coming up the back road. As we look at Old Alvin, the city back around 16, 17 made Old Alvin between 518 all the way up to McCard,
Yeah.
concrete curb and gutter. And going north, it's 2-lane asphalt, open ditch, and then of course Knapp Road is as well. So if a driver is to come from Friendswood and doesn't work for a tenant, their ability to come in that route is there. And, you know, whether they get there and notice a sign, not notice a sign, whatever that might be, who knows? Maybe they take a left on McCard and come up 35. So that's a possibility. Another thing, during the planning and zoning meeting, one of the commissioners had inquired about what happens if they miss your entrance. Somebody gets a phone call, somebody, whatever, starts texting, they're looking at their phone, piece of paper falls off the dash, whatever, and they move. There's no way to turn around, except down Knapp, down Old Alvin, come back around in that route. So these are things that I mentioned because my experience with a 2-lane asphalt road and several other tenants on First Street, which has nothing to do with you, but the city came in one day, it was a 2-lane open ditch asphalt street, and they converted it to a 4-lane concrete curb and gutter. And the day they did it, I thought it was a little bit of an overkill. But I can tell you, since it's been built that way, and having that as a function for allowing trucks in and out, it really was needed. And what was interesting is it amazes me because it's a dead-end road up against the railroad tracks. How many truck drivers cannot go in reverse? It's amazing that they have CDLs, and I would think that would be part of what their training is. But evidently, they pass without that, or they don't want to do it. I don't know which. But in this case, what I've gone on this long about, and Matt, if I could get your attention, is I would like to see one of two things. I know we've talked about since Hanover has come into play on the north side. My first thought was a 4-lane along Knapp for several reasons. One, queuing taking a left, queuing taking a right. Either way, I feel that that's warranted at minimum. Or if we could enlist the services of the EDC to help with approximately a half-mile on Old Alvin from McCard up to Knapp, to bring that into the southern part of it to be a concrete curb and gutter, albeit 2-lane, it would be better than an asphalt road, and it would help this gentleman's development as well. So it's something that, you know, as a thought for my rest of my council members, it's something that I think would be warranted to take this away, because if we don't, and we do end up, and I'm not saying it's going to be a lot, but we have truck traffic on Old Alvin, it's going to be the taxpayers that end up footing this bill, and it's going to be taxpayers on a regular basis sooner than normal having truck traffic, because I have no idea what the loads a future tenant that is strictly speculative might be. So it's something that I wanted to throw out there for the rest of my council members to consider, but also for Matt and the EDC to either, like I said, at minimum, make Knapp a 4-lane road from Old Alvin, so that any truck traffic that's there, it does open up. It does help with queuing. It does help the neighbors that are trying to take a right or left, because at that point, you don't have one truck sitting there waiting to take a left or take a right. You now have opened that up, you know, so it helps. So at any rate, I appreciate your time and what you put from our last discussion, because it looks like you had some thought about what, you know, my concerns were, so I appreciate that. But I still have concerns in the fact that, you know, just like I said, people look at a speed limit sign, and whatever they want to drive, that's what they're going to drive. Yeah. And so we can do all the preventative side of it, but still have outcomes that we don't want. So, but thank you very much for your presentation and your concerns that you that you did put here.
All right. Ms. Chavarria.
Thank you, Mayor. So yeah, that's my concern as well, is the traffic impact in the residential area. If you bring up slide 39, Josh, it looks like if they miss their exit to Knapp, they have to go all the way around and they're going to go through residential area. So that's really, I think it's deck 39, is 6A southbound, no traffic, non-traffic, truck traffic, sorry. So that's my concern really, is that we're going into residential areas, if that's the route that you're proposing.
No.
Is it not?
Southbound non-truck.
Yep. Well, if they miss Knapp, they're going to continue, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's correct. But if
I
they
think
miss
that's-
the Knapp turn in, they're going to go all the way down.
This is for non-truck. This is for non-truck.
Yes, ma'am. That's pedestrian vehicle traffic. Not truck traffic, if it misses the southbound Knapp turn, would proceed to Main.
That'd be
or
7A?
Broadway.
Okay. All right, well, that answered my question. Thank you. Sorry about that.
All good. Mr. Carbone?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate you coming back with a PD. I think it gets us much closer. And I agree. I don't know if Knapp needs to be 4-lane or maybe three lanes with a turning lane in the middle. But yeah, I can imagine. I don't know how. Even if there's no traffic, it'd be difficult for a 18-wheeler to make that Knapp to Old Alvin turn, and it's going to happen. It might not happen often, but when it does, it's going to happen. And if they don't navigate it right, that intersection will be shut down for a few hours. So yeah, I'd be interested to see what the EDC board thinks. Not necessarily in timing with the project that's already kicked off, but maybe a second phase that widens the cross section of Knapp all the way to Old Alvin, and then like Councilman Koza was saying, Old Alvin down to McCard, just so we've got a better loop. Still don't want truck traffic on there, but yeah, in case it does miss a turn. And the one comment I had with the slide that's up, it says no trucks beyond this point. Where were you going to put that sign?
That is one of the signs that we'll put out along Knapp Road at the entrance and exit off of Knapp Road to, again, alert trucks, not allowed behind this or beyond this point into that residential area.
You do have some industrial buildings to your east as well.
But I think currently it is not a truck route as well, right?
Right.
So, I mean, yeah.
It will be for Hanover. Yeah. It will be because Hanover's entrance and exit is past this
They're
one.
just half a block on their entrance coming down.
So I don't know if that signage is specifically tied into the PD, but just if we can clean that up. I know the intent's there.
Yes, sir.
But that was the only thing. And again, thank you for going through the exercise and getting the PD.
Yes, sir. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I'll echo a couple of things and add to it a little bit on the no trucks beyond this point. That was one of the deals. Hanover's entrance is to the east of you, so I don't know if we can allow for something further down the road in the city's right of way to put that same sign, but at the end, I mean, it's going to be an improved road. As far as the route's concerned, I think you're optimistic. Think if they miss, they're going to go all the way to 518 and then come back Maikawa and come McCard. I think if they miss, they're just going to turn McCard. I very much appreciate when developers come, they hear concerns, they listen, they try to respond, do the best they can. I know you can't control everything. I would probably recommend that if you're educating, some of this is going to be education for your tenants. If you're educating them, it may be more reasonable to say, if you miss us, McCard, Pearland Parkway, Beltway, come back down, do it again. It's going all the way down to 518, taking 518, trying to come up Maikawa and come back McCard. They're not going to do that. That's a long route that they're just not going to do. So just food for thought on that. I did have a question for you. Did you guys change the elevation some from the last presentation?
No, not significantly. I think maybe there were some different colors in the last one, like there was some blue or something shown on it. But no, we just did some color modifications a little bit to meet the PD. There's some requirements in the PD that have, variances in material, offsets and color. So we're trying to just meet that. But the shapes and the material and everything, I think, is the same. I think the only thing that changed were maybe the slats between the windows were previously a bluish color, and now they're kind of
Well, whatever it was that changed, this has more character to it than it did the last time. And I know I commented the last time that we kind of have industrial row going and the buildings all look the same. So I appreciate that this has a little more variance to it. So it gives a little bit of character to the front as well as the screening. I did have a question the last time we talked, and you mentioned it, that I believe when we met previously and asked you to come back with a PD, which thank you for doing that, TxDOT was not going to allow, was the entrance and the cut through the median, or the cut through the median is there, but it didn't line up with your entrance? Remind me what that was.
So it's a little of both. There's median cuts there that do not line up with the drive that TxDOT approved. And they're not going to allow us to modify that median. And Joe, if you want to step in, this is the expert that'll run circles around me as far as TxDOT.
Joe, just give us your name for the record.
Yeah, Joseph Flint from Langen Engineering. The existing median there provides a hooded left for the turn in on the west side of the street. We're not able to utilize that for a left in, and we can't modify along our frontage that median anywhere else where it wouldn't interrupt one of the other turning movements.
So to be clear, coming south on 35, your only access is left on Knapp Road.
Correct.
North on 35, you have the approved entrance in off of 35 or Knapp Road. So you got two shots.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. So yeah, the biggest concern that I think anybody has is them missing that Knapp Road turn, which obviously it's a traffic light. Hopefully they can remember to use a traffic light. There's going to be some education involved on that. I will say that I have talked to the residents, and thank you to the resident that came out this evening. We don't often get to hear people actually show up and communicate with us, so thank you for doing that. We usually just hear about it later when somebody's upset about something. So thank you for showing up. The concern that I have heard from residents, I think you butt up to the property, residents on the other side of Old Alvin, is truck traffic coming through there, Old Alvin getting torn up and things like that. I know that when we've addressed it in the past, staff has mentioned we have our truck enforcement officers. And so I think you're hearing for sure there'll be concerns be voiced if that becomes a truck route when it's not supposed to be, and have officers out there. I made note of that. I like hearing that your tenants will likely own the vehicles. That gives you a lot more control. Say, hey, if you want to operate out of this facility, you got to follow the routes. So I appreciate that. I would like to see what we can do to improve Old Alvin and Knapp for those exact reasons. That corner of Old Alvin and Knapp is tough, even in a regular four-wheel vehicle. So you start trying to make that with an 18-wheeler, I think what's likely going to happen is they're going to drive straight into that neighborhood towards Glenda and try to figure out how to back up. And like you said, they're not great at backing up unless it's to a loading dock.
It'll be worse if it's in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
If they don't go south and come back around, it will be 10 times worse in that neighborhood.
So with this, it seems to fit everywhere. And I'll say just from the development, for anybody in the development community that listens to our meetings, when we have meetings and we give feedback and a developer takes that feedback and actually does something with it, that gives it a whole lot more of an opportunity to actually get approved by council, because you're trying to work with us. So you're coming to be a partner in our community to improve drainage, to improve traffic, to improve the value of the land, and I appreciate that. So I'll support your project, but I would like to look at what can we do for the rest of Knapp and for Old Alvin as well, now that we're making this more of an industrial corridor.
Sounds good. Mr. Fernandez?
Thank you, Mayor. I echo what my colleagues have said. I think what it basically boils down to is the concern of them missing the turn. And I agree with members of council talking about that. I just don't see somebody traveling all the way down to 518 to McCowan to McCard and circle back that direction. What this boils down to, in my opinion, is that Old Alvin and Knapp needs to be addressed, and I'd like to see what the EDC can do, or their assistants. I think that the EDC can take a look at this and see if this can be improved, because like it's been mentioned, I think that's going to create a nightmare. Not only the road, the condition of the roads right now, the width of the roads, the turn radius, there's a lot that goes into it. So do I think this area is suited for this project is suited for this area? I do. But I am definitely concerned on that roadway around the residents, Old Alvin, Knapp, and so forth. Thank you.
Chevrolet.
So Matt, is this something that you can look into for the Knapp and Old Alvin? Can you take a look into that for us, please?
We can look into it. I think it would be hard pressed when we've talked about the 20% projects to do a project like this that would be, surrounded by residential streets. And, this would be if Knapp is $7 million, this is, I just measured 4,000 more feet. So this would add another $14, $17 million on top of that to make it just like what we're going to make Knapp. If that's the vision, I don't know if that's the vision, but that'd be a significant expenditure.
But between the two developments, yes, it's a high dollar expenditure, but what we're getting in return for both of these are high dollar taxable assessed value as well. And to alleviate issues with the neighborhood, I think it's well worth taking a look at.
Yeah, definitely.
Ms. Cade? Oh, okay. Real quick, put the circulation map up real quick. I have a quick question. And again, this goes to educating residents or educating the vendors that come in and out of there. Probably instead of going down all the way to Broadway and over, best place to take them is to Orange. Orange is concrete curb and gutter. It's already been upsized to an industrial truck traffic situation. We've got some pipe yards off of off of Orange, and we upgraded it for that purpose. So instead of coming all the way down to 518, they can just go to Orange, over to Makawa, back up to McCard, and there. That cuts some of that circulation off. And soon to be, whenever we get Makawa widened, it's going to be for the truck drivers that miss it, it's going to be a much safer route than going the other way. The other question I have is to addressing, and I don't know if this is an engineering question or not, Lorenzo, but it seems to me most drivers, truck drivers and others, they're using some kind of a map program to bring them where they're coming to, right? And if the address is on Main Street, they're going to go through Knapp. If the address for delivery is on Knapp, it's going to take them to Knapp. So it seems to me this isn't part of the PD, this is logistics afterwards, but the addressing of this, I would think, might need to be on Knapp, so we actually get trucks down Knapp as opposed to missing Knapp Road and they go, oh, I could have turned there. And that's for those that aren't coming necessarily all the time. And so once they have established traffic and established people who are coming and going, it'll be like second nature to them. But for those that don't, I think that we'd have a better chance of doing that. I don't know the rules on addressing, Lorenzo. So I don't know how that works when we plat it and do all that kind of stuff, because the building is over off of Main, but we've got that driveway access off of Knapp, and that's what we're trying to encourage. So hopefully we can assist in that and how we get the addressing done.
So I think that's going to fall in Vance's house, and maybe
Okay.
maybe they can have their main address off of Main, because that's where the building is, but a shipping address off of Knapp.
Yeah, and we can visit with we don't have an addressing coordinator anymore, but we can visit with GIS and review the review the SOP for that. You can see the building does face Knapp, and I think that's a big contributing factor. But glad to look for either a shipping address or if the primary. I know the applicant has expressed they don't mind if it was a Knapp address, and so we can certainly review that.
Yeah, I just think we'll have better success at getting it there if maps and everything else is directing them to Knapp Road. So, all right. Last call for questions, comments. Do you guys have any follow-up questions, concerns, comments?
No follow-ups, questions, or concerns. I just appreciate the opportunity to come back, and hopefully we can get this through and dive in with the city and with Joe and start some design and get a project going.
Okay. Vance, you guys, any follow-up, Trent?
No, we'll have the discussion with EDC. My only other thought was if that's something that we can't get moved forward, do we look into the developer on a contribution to maybe help the intersection of Knapp and Old Alvin to make those radiuses better?
Maybe some. Yeah. Look at it. All right. Sounds good. We'll close this docketed public hearing and we'll move to new business item number 1. Mr. Carbone, would you place that on the table, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, first reading of ordinance 2000M-282. So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. We've had questions, comments, concerns from council as well as staff report. Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Chavadilla?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Cade?
Aye.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0.
Thank you, fellas. With that, we'll move to new business item number 2. Ms. Chavarria is going to give the motion, but I believe Lawrence is going to read the full text.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, resolution number R 2026-68. So moved.
A resolution of the City Council, City of Pearland, Texas, authorizing the power of eminent domain to acquire 1, a 0.0829 acre fee simple interest for a public road right-of-way, and 2, a 0.0417 acre easement for public water line and sanitary sewer improvements, both situated in a portion of a 0.4579 acre tract of land conveyed to Che Ung by deed executed December 31st, 2010, in clerk's file number 2011001608 in the official records of Brazoria County, Texas, situated in the HT&B RR Company Survey, abstract number 304, Brazoria County, Texas, authorizing the city attorney or his designee and other city officials to take such actions as are necessary to acquire said property located within the city by donation, purchase, and/or by the exercise of the power of eminent domain.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Quick staff report.
Mayor, this is actually in relation to the Smith Ranch PID that was approved. We need to make those improvements in that area. I believe it's Smith Ranch 2 Road, future Wooten, and the intersection of Smith Ranch Road to get the sewer improvements in that area. There's a portion of it that you need the intersection, but that portion of the intersection is needed to get the sewer line and the water line in that area as well. So it's a combination of those things, but really the impetus for this tonight is the sanitary sewer improvements to get to that area as part of that PID. Were it not for that, I don't think we would be seeing this tonight.
Okay. Any comments, questions, Ms. Chavarria?
Thank you, Mayor. So have we heard anything from the property owner?
I apologize. I should have indicated that as well. Yes, we had reached out to the property owner. We made the offer. We gave the initial offer. We gave the appraisal. We gave the fair offer letter. At one point in time, the property owner said, I think I should get paid more, but never gave a counter offer. Of course, we are absolutely happy to entertain continuing the conversation and negotiating. However, in order to move forward with the improvements and meet our deadlines, I think with that project, we really want to move forward with the eminent domain. It doesn't close the door to negotiation in any way whatsoever. And if there is a reasonable counteroffer provided, of course, we're going to consider that, whether that happened before or after the petition is filed.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Chavadilla?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Cade?
Aye.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0.
All right, moving forward in our agenda. Other business, mayor council issues for city council. We have a discussion and possible action regarding mechanical concrete. Mr. Mr. Koza and Mr. Carbone placed this on the agenda, and we do have one person that signed up to speak to this. So why don't we go to Mike first, and then we'll go to the council members.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mike Getz, make your way to the podium, sir. If you would, just state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes. Thank you for being here.
Name is Mike Getz. Resident of Pearland since 1980. I live at 2505 Green Tea. And I appeared 2 years ago in March, meeting asking for the consideration of mechanical concrete for the pilot project of roads in Pearland, Texas. Trent and I signed a memorandum of understanding in 2025 to pave 150 feet of Knapp Road. We are hoping the pilot project will begin soon. Please refer to the packet of pictures that I gave you. And I'm really only going to talk about that first one because that's the main one that relates to Knapp Road. In my opinion, the most important one is, again, the one that says Liberty Tire Recycling on it. You will find the letter with the letterhead at the top. Testimony is important because this road is very much like Knapp Road. It's an industrial haul road which supports many large off-road trucks daily. Let me quote from Tim Landers of Liberty Tire, who had the road put in by us, Mechanical Concrete. He says, over 12 years ago, we contracted a vital haul road utilizing tire cylinders to support the daily passage of large truck, off-road trucks. This road has constantly provided a firm and stable base, even under significant heavy-duty use. A testament to the structural integrity of the tire cylinder base is the fact that the only maintenance required since its construction has been routine upkeep of the road's running surface. Mr. Lander also continues with a significant reduction in maintenance costs and the decreased wear and tear of our fleet of off-road trucks highlights the substantial economic and operational benefit of this application. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
All right. Thank you, Mike. As we go through this, we may have you back up for some questions here in just a minute. So I'll turn to Mr. Koza. You asked for this initially, obviously seconded by Mr. Carbone. So kick it off.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, the reason for me doing this is twofold. One, this has taken approximately 2 years to go through to get to this point. In my opinion, to do 150 feet of a test road, what we've put Mr. Getz and his company through has been kind of painstakingly tough. To sit here and go through this and try and get something to see if it works, doesn't work, you know, it's had a lot of roadblocks. With that being said, they have supplied stuff. We did get some information, a letter at our CIP meeting that had a letter along with, and by no stretch of the imagination am I an engineer, but had quite a bit of information behind it as to what is right, wrong, or indifferent to be able to test this out. The strip of road that we're looking at doing is predominantly truck traffic that's either going to be empty or full of pipe. There will be people going to work in their vehicles, getting there and back, but out of any road in the city of Pearland, to give it what it's going to be tested with is, you know, a good road to test. I can tell you Sleepy Hollow, Taylor, over in that area, we had the road laid, redone within, I want to say, probably 2 months, give or take. The road was already falling apart, and here they've redone it, and I don't know if it's 8 months or so, but since then, it's already starting again. So if this product is something that's viable, I don't know. I hope that through this testing, we can assess maybe it is, maybe it's not, I don't know. And I know that since I put this on the agenda, we've all of a sudden moved a little quicker than we would have otherwise, because we're starting to move ahead. So my comment, I don't know if this is for Trent, Lorenzo, from here, what kind of timeline, what are we looking at to getting this 150 foot on Knapp Road West past the entrance to Steamboat Bills to where we can actually start looking at this? We've taken 2 years to get here. I'm going to be here 2 more years. I think the MOU had 1 year of testing. I'd kind of like to see how it's done prior to me getting off council. I might not be here to vote on a road that has it, but I'd kind of like to be able to see if this thing works. I'll still be living here in Pearland and probably still be able to needle anybody, but from that, I'd kind of like to know what a timeline, what we're looking at.
So let me jump in real quick. So based on the discussion at the CIP meeting and the direction we received from generally the full council, we already prepared and sent a letter to Century Road Solutions approving the 150-foot pilot program. And additionally, just going to let you know what we're coordinating, and then Lorenzo can let us know what the latest timeline is. But we're coordinating through a professor at Texas A&M who will, my understanding, install pavement performance monitoring equipment as when the road is constructed, so actually in the pavement itself, to help us monitor the performance. But I do want to emphasize that future installations beyond the pilot program, we still will require the engineering that we require on all projects, which is required by the state of Texas, to build anything in the public right of way or with public funds. So we've still got to get past that once we get through the pilot program. So at this point, it's really just a matter of coordinating schedules and moving forward. And Lorenzo may have some more on where we are with getting the pavement monitoring equipment.
So we coordinated with Mr. Getz and his team. Latest update we got was this morning that they were still coordinating, trying to get some schedules together. And they're about 2 weeks out, is my understanding, from being ready to start. And so once we get that confirmed timeline, then we'll share that back out with the Texas A&M team to confirm that our schedules align so that they can get the testing equipment installed at the time of construction.
Okay.
And just to add, I think the testing equipment not only benefits us, but it'll benefit Century Road Solutions as they move forward with their product. Yes, sir.
I got some questions along that line. Mr. Getz, could you go back to the podium, please? So with that information there, as far as we've got some scheduling that we're waiting on, is what was just said from y'all to come back with us. Do you have, since it was this morning sometime, do you have any information as to?
I haven't seen anything this morning from Lorenzo or Trent.
Okay.
Was it an email? Was it a text? What was it?
No, sir. So it's Mr. Getz's asphalt guy, or his contractor has been coordinating directly with the assistant director. So we heard directly from Daniel Stuckey that they have about a 2-week timeline to get their schedule coordinated and then coordinate back with us to let us know how we coordinate our schedules together.
Okay, that's fine. To me, a little bit of miscommunication. I think it would have been best to have everybody involved so that everybody's on the same page, but I'll leave it at that because Mr. Stuckey's not here to be able to ask questions of. So on the pavement monitoring, is there any way to the 150 feet or so that goes into Steamboat Bills, is there any way to implement that into the first 150 feet? Because it's been probably a year and a half that we redid that because we had the Grand Canyon going into Steamboat Bills that got corrected so that the patrons of Steamboat Bills didn't tear up their vehicles. Is there any way we could also get the same type of evaluation. Granted, it's a year and a half, 2 years right now.
So my understanding is that this actually rests within the cross-section of the pavement, so I don't think we could do the same thing there, but we can obviously monitor for the surface distresses and things like that. Is that your understanding?
Right. So there will be some non-destructive testing that we'll have to do over that year period, right? And so that'll be information that we'll gather. We'll collect that information and then share that back to the Texas A&M team, and then they'll provide some conclusions back from both sections.
I understand that. Where my frustration comes from is I was kind of hoping to get both sections done at the same time so that we had the same weather, we had the same everything to compare two types of base, and we passed on that, which is fine. That's water under the bridge, but we lost that ability to do that when we took 2 years to get where we're at right now. So as far as requirements that are needed to be able to spec this if it performs, I would hope over the next year that between Lorenzo's team and Mr. Getz's company, we should be able to come up with what they need to be able to bid this. Would that be a safe assumption, or is that a 4-year process?
No, so we typically don't provide the specifications.
I understand that, but I need the communication between the two so that we come up. Like I said, I am no engineer. There in this packet right here is quite a bit of information. Some of the comments that were from your staff asking about how screws and nails go into tires. When we build a form to lay concrete, do you ask how the nails and screws hold boards together?
Not in that sense, but in the sense of actually constructing the roadway and what's underneath the pavement or underneath that holds it all together.
But if this is not a structural component, if this is holding it together to be able to put the aggregate into it, it's just like a nail on a form board.
So, but this is a structural component that's a part of the roadway. So that component is actually included in the specifications or in the construction details.
It's a Mr. Getz, do you have whether you or
it's a steel belted radial.
Hold on, either you or your engineer, is the screw or nail a component that is structural, or is it strictly to hold it together?
First place, my last meeting with Trent and Mr. Lorenzo, we had Eddie with me, and we answered all the questions, and I said, is there any more questions you have for me? And Lorenzo said, yeah. You tell me 3 different stories. And I said, wow, what do you mean, 3 different stories? He said, well, you can nail them. Next time you say you put screws in them, next time you put clips on them. I said, Lorenzo, it's 3 different options you have, not 3 different stories. Or you don't have to use anything. It's just you put the nails in, so when you put the aggregate in, the sides don't collapse. And that's the only reason the nails are there.
Which are 3 different approaches to installing those tires. The other issue that I'll share with you guys is Mr. Kurtz did start off on the project. The report that you guys have in front of you is not something that's sealed by Mr. Kurtz. So the challenge has been actually the communication piece of it. So we get a different person that reports back to us each time. And so that leads to this, where we see this 2-year window of us getting stuff back. The communication piece has really been a challenge. Well, we've been consistent with reporting back. Just getting responses back has been difficult. And so getting everybody on the same page, where we got Mr. Kurtz here today and another person that signed and sealed that drawing, that packet that's in front of you, that's completely different. In the engineering world, you typically only talk to that one person that's signing and sealing that report. So now you got 2 different engineers that are associated with this project.
I took this report right here that I have in my hand, showed it to an additional engineer, and asked them if this was enough to get the job done. Not going to share with you who it is, but it was an engineer. And when they read it, they said yes.
So just to put that in context, is that for the pilot program or for doing
For the
general?
pilot program.
Okay, and I think that's why
it's taken 2 years. I have a lot of heartburn to 2 years for a pilot program.
I understand, and I think when we first met with Mr. Getz, we talked a lot about the engineering and what was really we needed to see to try to move forward with, and that was what was documented in the MOU. And I think after additional discussions with Commissioner Ramsey at Harris County and his folks, we're ready to move forward with the pilot program.
Well, and they did it without everything right here.
I understand that.
And I don't understand with other places, other states. It seems to me that we had a roadblock for whatever reason, whether it's staff didn't want it, whoever, I don't know. But what I have been through and what I've experienced, it's like y'all didn't want it. And I can tell you at the end of the day, when we sit here and spend $2 million on vehicles in a heartbeat because they're sitting on a parking lot and then we take 2 years to get them in service, it's the same kind of feeling that I have. I don't understand when we have consensus up here at the dais, which we did, and out of that group, there's only 3 or 4 of us here today. And so that's why I brought it back, because if we needed a vote or if we needed consensus, we could give a clear direction. At our CIP meeting, that's what we gave again.
Yes, sir. We have the
so
clear direction.
That I don't get when we give consensus from the dais and it drags the way it did. So I appreciate the time, and I'll let my fellow council members talk about it. And but I've got real heartburn over it.
Yeah, Mr. Carbone, you were second on this.
Yep. Not to beat a dead horse. Sounds like we're moving forward. On our quarterly CIP updates, if we can drop a slide at the end of every one of them, just so we can make sure the project keeps moving forward, just so we can all put eyes on it as it progresses. Sounds like everything's moving forward, but I think having that quarterly check-in will help make sure that we don't end up here 2 years from now.
Mr. Getz, real quick, can we get a single point of contact to make sure that that is streamlining with staff?
Come right through, come to me.
So let's make sure we have a single point of contact. If you change people within that, contact still needs to flow through you, so we have accountability on how we're getting information back. Eddie, I have a question for you, and I know you didn't seal what Mr. Koza has. I think one of the drawbacks or the trouble that has been here is getting an engineer to actually seal plans. Have you been able to take a look at this and actually put your seal on plans? And go ahead and give your name for the record, Eddie, real quick.
My name's Eddie Curse. Live at 1908 Lazy Creek Lane here in Pearland. The engineering analysis that was done, I believe, by CDM, Kenny with CDM, yes, I would seal his engineering analysis. I would seal his cross-section design based on his AASHTO 93. You know, he went through and did all of the technical stuff that I don't do. As a civil engineer, that's not my specialty, but it is his. I have reviewed it, and like we all do in the engineering game, when you have, you know, a senior engineer and you have young engineers or other engineers working for you, you sign other people's work, right, as long as you're comfortable with it. So yes, I would sign the documentation that Kenny provided. I've read it. I agree with his analysis and his conclusions.
So Trent, when did we get that signed information? Maybe
So, I mean, that's an analysis. So, I mean, that's a little bit different than asking someone to design and seal a set of plans for a specific roadway. So, is that hold true for that as well?
Yes, I mean, and for this job, like you said, this is a 150-foot strip, and what Mike was asked to provide was the analysis, engineering analysis, a cross section. So what are you going to do with the dirt underneath? What is the base, the mechanical concrete? What is the surface course? And can he put that together? So now, do we have a plan and profile drawing for 150 feet of road? No. But
But since it is a 150-foot test job,
And I agree. We're ready to move forward with the 150-foot test job. The question was more for if we hired you to go redesign another roadway.
yes, based on Kenny's report, Kenny's analysis, the specifications that I wrote, which just
I think
fill
that's
all of
really
that
what,
stuff.
what we've
Yeah.
been looking for, is that there's an engineer willing to
If
sign and steal a project moving forward. So it sounds like we have that now.
Yes.
So
If you ask me to do Ham Road and seal and sign it, yeah.
So, Lawrence, why is it important that we have, and again, a test project is one thing, go do another, full section of road. Why is it important we have stamped plans?
I would say
Other than the fact that the state of Texas requires them.
well, that was going to be my first reason. But yes, in the occupations code, construction of certain public works projects require that the engineering plan specs and estimates have been prepared by an engineer. But ultimately, what you go down to is, I'm going to say, accountability and liability. So switch over to a different screen. I think that most folks are familiar with the Texas Tort Claims Act and how you can have liability for different types of things. But outside of the Tort Claims Act, where municipalities can be liable for certain types of functions, there is what's called design immunity that is part of sovereign immunity. And when you go to design a road, that design immunity is going to be there as long as the roadway plan and design met current engineering standards, which is why we're trying to get to the stamp. And then it receives the discretionary approval from that engineer. And then finally, the design was implemented as approved. So we really need those things to happen in order to prevent liability. And I think in a public meeting, it might have been you, Mayor, who had said something along the lines of, worst case scenario is we have to tear out the road and rebuild it because it failed. And that's never a lawyer's worst case scenario. A lawyer's worst case scenario is a truck is driving down the road and something fails and there's a passenger vehicle next to it when that happens. We want to make sure we're not in that type of situation. And I think that when you follow what was in the MOU, I think that Darren, when he approved the MOU and drafted it, he made sure that those things were in there, which is why he was comfortable with it at that time. And it all comes back down to that engineering approval on that design set.
Yeah, and what we've had delivered to it from CDS, was signed and sealed in February of this year. So February of 26 is what this is showing, revived. So any other questions, comments on this end? Oh, yeah.
No, go ahead. If he's got something, go ahead. I want to ask something about Lawrence's comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Trent, just one question. And this also goes hand in hand with what Eddie just said. So just a question. If we've been waiting on or looking for a seal and he just said that he could have done it, is this the first time the question was asked to Eddie if he could certify it and seal it?
Probably directly like that, but the first meeting we had year and a half, I can't remember when it was, a couple of years ago, the first meeting we had that Mr. Getz brought in Mr. Kurtz to the meeting, we had that discussion of, and Eddie and I have known each other for a long time, so my comment was, Eddie, you know what we need here. If we're going to ultimately build this in the city of Pearland, we need an engineered, signed, sealed set of plans, specs, estimates, and all the things that are associated with that. And so, that was had then, and now that some of the engineering work has been done, that's the first opportunity I've had to just see if that would be applicable to an actual project versus a pilot project as well. So,
okay, all right, thank you.
If I might throw in, when we were talking about the pilot project, and Trent, correct me if I'm wrong, we weren't talking about sealing and signing, doing plans sealed and signed for the pilot project, because it is a little 150-foot strip. So Trent's right. I was never asked a direct question about if we asked you to do another road, a full road job. So the answer to that question would have been yes. So
Back then, it may have been different. Now we know a little more.
Thank you, Eddie.
Ms.
Thank
Cade.
you.
Ms. Cade?
Okay, Trent, my question might be stupid, but does it have to be Knapp Road? If what Councilmember Koza brought up, if something, or somebody brought up, maybe it was Lawrence, that trucks and passenger vehicles side by side and the road fails or something?
I think Knapp Road's the right application here. It's a heavily truck trafficked road. It's almost exclusive truck traffic. What's there, hasn't held up over the years, obviously because of that type of traffic. I think it's very similar to what Harris County chose to do there, and they did it in-house. Their pilot program was on a road that is heavily truck trafficked. So I think and then that also gives you a really good test of seeing the effectiveness of the structural integrity of the product.
And
So
if I can
think
throw
it's the
in,
right road.
we also, the first 150 feet from 35 West was just done a year or so ago. So we put this in, the next 150 feet, you're standing there looking at both of them. And that's kind of why we chose that.
Right.
Yeah, that was the other reason, yes.
Thank you. I was just curious. Appreciate it.
Mr. Koza?
Lawrence, you brought up a liability issue. I appreciate that. I have had multiple constituents ask me about Plum Road prior to it being done. And basically, their concern was a bus dumping because the offset between the center of the road and the right that it sloughed off, the bus looked like it was going to turn over. I would think that under basic construction, letting that road sit as long as we have, we would have liability in that if a bus ever turned over. Would that be a fair statement?
That is possible, sir, yes. Under the Tort Claims Act, where we waive liability, the third, there's like a laundry list of things where municipalities or government entities waive liability. The third one is for street construction and design. The fourth one is for maintenance of those streets. So depending on whether the city knew about that, whether it had implemented a plan to address that, and those types of things, there could have been some sort of liability for something of that sort. I don't know the specifics of that case or that situation, so I couldn't say. So, and I don't want to say that we're not liable for other things, or we haven't waived liability for things, or the state rather hasn't waived liability for things in the Tort Claims Act. Design immunity is separate from the Tort Claims Act, though.
Correct. I understand. But I mean, we have a school right there. We have a bus barn right there that gets daily traffic, morning and afternoon, from buses that we have liability with. And not now because it's been corrected, but, it's something that's inherent in roads, period. Because if we let it go that far, then shame on us. So, thank you.
Mr. Koza, can I say something?
Go right ahead.
This is not new technology. It's been around for 15 years. We've had 154 construction jobs that we've done. Not one failure, not one. Every kind of road you can think of. We've even built the road in Alaska underwater using this, and it's still perfect. So, freezes. We built it in freeze because everybody's thinking the freeze is going to affect the roads up in Utah. Got letters. You'll see them. They love it. Georgia, we're doing a lot of jobs in Georgia. They absolutely love after they do it. The last road we did last week in Georgia, I'm out there looking at the job, and there's a house back there. I said, who's in that house? And the commissioner said, he's just retired. He was the head guy from Georgia DOT. And I said, oh, has he seen the road? He said, yes. He came out yesterday, stood in it and said, why haven't you been doing this for years? This is great. Never had anybody have any issues. I don't know what else you want, what else you need to see.
Well, we will give it a year and we'll have our own analysis.
Yeah.
I hope in that year's period that we can get whatever seals, whatever issues that we need addressed taken care of, if it performs the way you just stated, because it could be something that we could consider if everything meets what we need. So I appreciate those comments, and like I said, we're going to give it a year to see how it performs. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I was just going to finish this out with, Mike, thank you for hanging in with us. Sounds like we're on the doorstep of getting that going. Hopefully you can get Daniel, a little kick there, and maybe we can get this thing started in a couple of weeks.
I'll call him in the morning.
And I will say, I think having A&M coming in is that tied to TTI, Lorenzo?
Yeah, they have the resources from
Okay.
TTI. Yes.
But if that's tied to TTI, Eddie, that's going to help you guys way more than you probably think, because that's going to give some real time data underneath that road that can translate to other things that other entities. When you can finally get things sealed, plan specs, the whole thing, done. That's going to set your course a lot further, and I know it's been an ordeal to get here, but we're on the doorstep. So we thank you for doing that. Last call for questions, comments.
My only question would be, Trent, we don't need a vote as long as y'all have direction to be able to get this moving.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've already got a letter that we're doing this, and we're just coordinating schedules right now.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Sounds like the MOU is still in place, and we're good to go. So with that, we will close this discussion item. At this time, council is going to recess into executive session under Texas Government Code Section 551.074, deliberations regarding the city manager's annual performance goals. Trent, are we doing the economic development? So we're not going to go into exec session on the other item. We will we will recess at 8 o'clock. All right, City Council has returned from exec session at 9:37. We'll move to adjournment at 9:37.